Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I have just finished watching the series finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously, full spoilers ahead. So much to go into. Okay, let's break it all down. Okay, so there are some things that I already know are gonna be like the heated discussions, which has happened like every single episode. There's always like a heated discussion that goes on for like 2-3 weeks straight. Except, this is the end, so like I don't know what's gonna. This is pretty much where the discussion is gonna leave off, I guess. There are some things that are gonna bother some people, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I loved a lot of the decisions that were made here. There are of course some like more fan fiction-y elements that I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it have been cool if this had happened or this had happened, stuff like that. But overall, I think like I'm pretty damn positive about like what happened. Like I pretty much enjoyed everything that happened here. Ooh, man, what a rush. I love the way it ended. Okay, let's go into it. Okay, so first off, yes, so the ship is trying to escape. The ship that Obi-Wan and the entire people from the path are on, they're trying to escape. Their hyperdrive is down, and then this thing is down, and their shields are gonna not hold forever, and basically they need to find a way to escape. So Obi-Wan, kind of like how I predicted, Obi-Wan has to find a way to buy them time in order to leave. And so he gets in an escape pod, and he basically goes the complete opposite direction, knowing that Darth Vader is going to follow him. He doesn't care about the path and all these people and all this stuff, which, obviously that would be the smarter move, is to destroy the path. That way no more Force sensitives escape, right? And by the way, the Grand Inquisitor even points this out, like, are we really going to like let this opportunity go for like one Jedi? And Darth Vader's like, he's not just any Jedi, follow him, So they completely turn the other way and they go towards Obi-Wan, so they're following him. And Darth Vader decides I'm gonna like face him on my own, which, now I'm kind of like, well, couldn't the Star Destroyer still have been following these other people? But whatever, I don't care. So I didn't really catch the name of the planet that they land on. I think they did say it, but in any case, I actually really love what they did here. Is that like it's not quite a desert, it's more like a barren wasteland, but also there's like these like large rocky spires on one side, and then it's complete like flat plains on the other side, so it was pretty cool looking environment for this final showdown. So right away, I'm gonna say like this fight is not gonna be long enough for some people, or it's not gonna be some people are gonna be like, well, it wasn't choreographed exactly like the prequels or something. I thought they did a really great job of like, they definitely pulled out some prequel moves, but they also had some like original trilogy moves, and I think that was that's their goal. I think was kind of to like push that transition from like, okay, they're doing some like prequel fanciness, but also they're kind of like adding in some like more basic original trilogy, the way that they fought back then, and I feel like this was a really good blend of those two. And we did, of course, get our epic moments. Now, some people were like, they have to play Duel of the Fates, they have to play this and that, They didn't play, at least I didn't catch it, they didn't play any like of our recognizable like epic throwdown Revenge of the Sith music, so some people are gonna complain about that. So we know all the complaints. But yeah, just overall, I love everything that was happening here. Darth Vader like does the Force on the ground and creates this giant chasm that Obi-Wan falls down, and he has to like, remember what he's doing this for, and he imagines the twins, and he like does this crazy Force push out of there. Basically, Darth Vader's like, oh, your strength has returned, but your weakness remains. His whole, the dark side's stronger and all that. So they do a pretty great job here. The fight's pretty awesome. And what's smart here is that Obi-Wan manages to damage the box, the respirator box chest light bright thing that he's got on. I don't know what the actual technical name of that piece is, but he manages to damage that, which of course is the part that helps Darth Vader breathe, you know. So he starts wheezing, and then they do the Rebels thing where Obi-Wan gets a hit on his helmet, and it's got this giant slash, and you see Anakin's all messed up face, you know, and it is Hayden under there, and you can hear Hayden's voice. I will say, I wish maybe you could like adjust the you know, the bass of when they have Hayden talking, because I think they wanted to make it clear that it's Hayden, and so a lot of it sounds like Hayden and not necessarily like Darth Vader anymore. I think maybe if you had increased the bass just a tiny bit more, it would have sounded a little bit better. But it's definitely like Hayden's voice. I think that's the point they were trying to get across. It's like, no, it's really him in the suit right now. And that's pretty much where the fight ends, you know. And I know some people are gonna be like, well, wait, Ahsoka did the same thing and he kept fighting. Well, Ahsoka did not damage his box, the little chest box. That's like his weak spot. Okay, the helmet being damaged, sure, I'm sure that like oh, he can't see as good or something, right? But the chest box is the part that helps him breathe. So if you damage that, it's kind of all over for Darth Vader, you know. Like that's like, you know, if he's a video game boss, that's the weak spot you want to hit, you know. So the fact that he damaged that is kind of where it's like, all right, this fight's basically over, you know what I mean? Like Obi-Wan comes to essentially the conclusion that Anakin is really dead, you know. Darth tells him like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did, you know. He wasn't your failure, you know. So in a way, he kind of like, you know, he's trying to like taunt Obi-Wan, being like, I killed Anakin, I'm just Darth Vader now. Ooh, you know. But really, this is kind of exactly what Obi-Wan needed to hear in order to kind of move on, you know what I mean? Because for the last 10 years, he's been like carrying this baggage of like, oh, I failed Anakin, I did all of this to Anakin, this is all my fault. But now he's kind of coming to the conclusion of like, Anakin did this to himself. He's Darth Vader now. Darth Vader killed Anakin. And that's essentially how we get to, you know, him telling Luke this great lie of like, Darth Vader killed your father, you know? And I feel like now it's not just a lie, you know, because like basically ever since they did the Empire Strikes Back, where they did the big reveal, and yes, it is a retcon, by the way, you know, because that was not the original plan. You know, now, you know, we've had to just be like, I guess Obi-Wan was doing a certain point of view, lying to him. But now it's more like, no, Obi-Wan really believed this, you know, like Obi-Wan, like this was Obi-Wan's mindset for the next 9 years after this, is that Darth Vader killed Anakin, and that's the way it is, you know. So I actually really enjoyed that. That's the message that Obi-Wan leaves with. And also it's like he left Darth Vader in this like essentially a crippled state again, you know, like Darth Vader can't breathe. He's not going to be able to continue this fight, especially not at the level Obi-Wan was at. Obi-Wan like raised all of these boulders and was like throwing them all at him, and that was like an amazing moment. Like I literally was like, oh shit, Obi-Wan's back, you know. So just really, really great moments there. So I don't, you know, some people wanted the fight to be like 15 or 20 minutes long, which I think is kind of ridiculous. Because here's the truth. If you've ever seen a Transformers movie, you know this. If an action sequence lasts more than like 8 minutes or something, it gets boring. It starts to get boring, because it just starts becoming mindless movement on the screen, and you're like, okay, so what, can we get to a story? What's happening, you know? So like the fact that it only lasted so long, I think it lasted as long as it needed to, you know, and it wasn't like, it didn't take up like half the episode, and I'm okay with that, you know, honestly I am. But yeah, so anyways, I feel like we got our epic moments. We got Obi-Wan like coming to the conclusion point that he needed to come to in order to like move on and become like, you know, the Obi-Wan, the old Ben, you know. So that was actually really, really great. Now let's see, let's move on to the Reva plot, okay? Because, you know, this is the other kind of point that I know, you know, as it was happening, I was like, oh, some people are going to be so angry about this, you know. So the Reva plot, it sort of matches the leaks, except not the ending of it, you know. And I feel, and you know, they were very, very careful about what they chose to do here. So basically, we show Reva. She's already on Tatooine. We don't show how she got there, but we know that there were those speeders still in the base. The speeders that they went and saved Ben at on, you know, Fortress Inquisitorius. So we know that those are still there. So we can just assume that's how she got to Tatooine. She's looking for Owen, right? And here's my thing about this. So given all of the context that we know that she has, all the information, it did not seem as if she knew that Luke was Anakin's son, right? But you can still go to where it's like, it's reasonable that she could put those pieces together, you know, in the sense of like, why would Obi-Wan and Bail care about this kid so much? What's so special about Owen on Tatooine and this boy and having to protect this boy? You know, what does all this mean? You know, so like her coming to the conclusion that like this must have something to do with Anakin. You know what I mean? I totally buy that. You know, and again, I know some people are gonna be like, but we didn't see her draw all the lines or something. You know, it makes sense. It makes sense that this is a conclusion she could come to, even though it's not like stated out loud for her to like, oh, you know, Bail wasn't like, I'll go save Anakin's son, Luke Skywalker. You know, it's reasonable that like she got the information out of someone's mind that like, oh, their son's name is Luke Skywalker, and she's like, oh, okay, you know. So anyways, she gets to Tatooine, and Bail ends up finding out from one of the other locals that like, oh, this lady's looking for you. That's not good, you know. this evil looking lady. So they go back home and they start preparing, and they tell Luke to hide here, and when something happens, you better run. They tell him that Tuskens are here. Tuskens are showing up, right? Which is obviously like what you would tell a child in that moment. You know, you don't be like, this crazy Force user with a lightsaber is gonna come. You know, like they just say Tuskens are gonna be here, which is something that like Luke would know as a kid to prepare for. You know, like that's just part of their day-to-day life out in the moisture farm. You know, Tuskens might attack one day. You know, which of course has happened with, you know, Shmi and all that. So like that farm itself has been attacked by Tuskens before, or not. Anyways. So yeah, basically she shows up, and then it becomes nightfall, and they're kind of just assuming like that's when she'll attack. So they're getting all ready for it, and then she trips the perimeter alarm, and she shows up, and they do a pretty good job of fending her off. But you can tell that like Reva's been like, she's still injured from the last episode. Now they don't like go into like, well, how does she survive? Look, lightsabers cauterize wounds. If she was stabbed in the same place she was before, maybe it's a non-fatal spot. I don't know. You know, some people like want every single damn answer in the world of like, we know Reva's still alive. We saw her crawl around. We saw her get the message. She grabbed her lightsaber, so we know she's gonna live. I don't give a damn how she lived. I really don't. You know, so like we know she's still injured, and she's gonna live. She's fine. But she is sort of like semi-limping, and Owen kind of uses this to his advantage. He like pokes at her wound a little bit. So they both manage to fend her off for long enough for Luke to run away, and she just goes chasing after Luke. And they're very careful here. They do not have her lightsaber out while she's chasing Luke. You know, so Luke like never sees a lightsaber, and that's very, very important. Of course, I know a lot of people were so concerned about like, but he doesn't know what a lightsaber is. He can't see a lightsaber. So, you know, the easy solution, he just never sees it. There you go. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's so funny how like some people were so insanely worried about that when like the solution was really obvious. I think it was like he just doesn't see it. Okay. You know, his eyes are closed or his head is turned, whatever. He never sees it. Anyway, so he's running away, and she's chasing him down, and she manages to drag him down from the rocks, and he's all unconscious. And you know, just like how some of the leaks were saying, she ends up like seeing herself, you know, in the same way that Anakin had attacked her as a kid. Now she's attacking this kid, and she ends up deciding she can't do it, which, by the way, he's unconscious now, so she has her lightsaber out, and he's not seeing any of this. He doesn't know what a lightsaber is. It's okay, guys, it's fine. And so she ends up deciding she can't do it. So she brings his body all the way back to the hut, and you know, they're just kind of like, okay, he's fine. You know, they check up on him and they bring him inside, and she starts basically breaking down in front of Obi-Wan, saying like, I couldn't do it. Did I become Anakin? You know, and like that. This is basically the fulfillment of her arc of like she's deciding not to become her tormentor. You know. Which, you know, that's always like the thing about the dark side. You know, you have become the very thing you swore to destroy. You know, like that's literally the thing that always happens with these Darksiders is, you know, or not always, but you know, most of them are like, they use their anger and revenge and all this stuff out of some sort of like justifying cause, you know, and then they end up becoming that very thing that they hated, you know. And he's just like, whatever you choose to be now, you know, like, we're free. You have a fresh start. You know, we're both free. I'm free of my, you know, my whole guilt and trauma over Anakin. I can now accept that Anakin killed himself, basically. And you chose not to become Anakin. You know, you chose not to become the next child killer, you know, Darksider, right? She throws down her lightsaber, and that's really the end that we see of Reva, you know. So I think it's pretty fair to assume that we're gonna get some kind of Reva spinoff, or she'll show up in a season 2 if there's a season 2, or something. She's gonna show up somewhere. I think that's pretty reasonable to assume now. That's definitely where they left her off. And in the leaks had her return to Darth Vader, lie about killing Obi-Wan, and then she died, which, the whole context of like her killing Obi-Wan, like none of that would have made any damn sense at all. Her return to Vader wouldn't have made any sense. So, you know, some people are gonna tell you that like, oh, they changed the leaks because of the ratings in season 2 or something like that. And, you know, like I said with my predictions video, they would have had to have done that within the last like 4 weeks. Like 4 weeks ago, they would have had to like completely refilm the whole context of like what happened last episode and what happened like with Obi-Wan leaving Anakin there, and like a lot of this wouldn't have made any sense with those original leaks. So I don't think this was like recently reshot. You know, maybe it was rewritten that way a long time ago, but there's no way this happened like recently, you know. Anyways, so that's the last we see of Reva. And where we'll see her next, I don't know. Some people out there I know are going to complain that like Ben wouldn't let her go. Ben wouldn't let that information that Luke was here just be out there. And honestly, I think he would, only because he saw her bring Luke back. You know, the fact that she had the chance to hurt him and then she chose not to, and she chose to join the light. You know, like, does it make any sense in character for Obi-Wan to like, oh, you're a good guy, you decided not to do the bad thing, but I have to kill you now? That doesn't make any sense for Obi-Wan to do that. You know what I mean? So anyone making that argument of like, oh, Ben would have had to kill her right then and there because she knows too much now, I think that's really stupid. And that would have been like the most out of character moment in the world. You know what I mean? Can you honestly imagine him being like, oh, good job, you did the good thing, I have to kill you now? Like that would never happen. That literally doesn't make any sense. So yeah, honestly, that all worked for me. You know, like her arc kind of played out the way I think a lot of us, especially after last episode, I think a lot of us were like, okay, this is where it's going, and that is where it went. I will say this, I really like the character of Reva. I don't know what she chooses to do after this. You know, obviously, canon wise, there's a lot of like, we haven't seen her past this point, so what can she end up doing? I don't know. Maybe she joins the rebellion, maybe she meets Ahsoka, you know, like there's all kinds of things they could do with her. But I will say, you know, like, you have a powerful Force user who just returned to the light. She's gonna have to like make a brand new lightsaber, I'm assuming. Now, I thought that maybe they would have her take the path, but she would have had to have like found a way off Tatooine. I mean, maybe she does eventually end up taking the path to disappear, but anyways, I like the way that they left her off. Not killing her off, I think, was the smartest move, and it's the one that made the most sense to me. And yeah, so Luke does not know about lightsabers. Everything's fine, guys. The canon is fine. Obi-Wan goes back to Alderaan and says a goodbye to Leia, and they make a point to, he's talking to Bail. It's like, if you ever need my help, you know where to find me. Which to me is like, okay, so they're leaving the windows open for season 2. Like this, it's possible that it happens, and honestly, I'd be fine with that. And then he goes back to Tatooine, and he talks to Bail, and he gives Luke the toy, and he's like, "Do you want to meet Luke?" And of course, he ends it with being like, "Hello there," So of course he had to sit. And I feel like that's also something some people were like waiting all season for him to do. Like, just say it, just say hello there. It's a meme, but also it is the first words that we see him say to Luke in A New Hope. So, well, no, I guess he says it to R2, doesn't he? Anyways, it's the first words he says in A New Hope. That's the point. So him saying that to Luke when they first meet, it matches. It's like poetry. It rhymes. And yeah, he gives him the toy, and I'm sure he just says, "My name's Ben Kenobi," because Luke has that information, by the way. And some people were kind of acting like they didn't know each other at all, or that they had never met, which of course that's not the case. Luke is fully aware who Ben Kenobi is. In fact, he literally knows the area of where Ben Kenobi lives. He knows where he's at. So like he knows him fairly well. He's like that distant uncle that's like, yeah, he showed up a couple times in my childhood. Like, I kind of know him, but I don't like regularly visit him, but I kind of like, I know him a little bit. That's kind of their reputation, or their relationship up until A New Hope. So like, they knew of each other. He knows that he exists and he's out there, but he's like that crazy old wizard out there. And my other thing is like, he leaves off Owen saying like, I don't need to watch over him. All he needs is you two, and he like leaves off to go. Because remember, in A New Hope, he's not living, so close to their house that he can literally see it. He is actually like living quite a whiles away. Ben Kenobi is like, his little cave house is actually further away than it was in this show. And I don't know why that's something that like had not dawned on me before, that I was like, oh wait, that's right, he doesn't actually live that close to them. He actually lives, like, Luke actually has to literally get in a speeder and drive way out there in order to find Ben Kenobi. So he's not literally watching over him. I mean, he's like probably like what, a mile or two away from Luke's house, but like throughout this entire show, and again, I don't know how it didn't dawn on me, like, oh wait, the cave he's living in is literally right there, and that's not how it is in A New Hope. So it makes sense that he's moving, and he's kind of like giving Owen their distance, and he's like, you know what, you guys are right, he just needs to be a kid, he needs to live a life, I don't have to train him and all this and that. The future will take care of itself, So I love the place we leave Obi-Wan at, and I love like the situation obviously is perfectly set up to go into A New Hope. Ben is gonna move into his house a little bit further away, and he's moved on, and of course it ends with us getting Liam Neeson's back as Qui-Gon Jinn. Oh man, look, I was so convinced that like they'll just do a voice and we'll just like hear him in some kind of moment of need. And when he was in the rocks, when he was like trapped underneath the rocks, I thought that was the moment, and it didn't happen. And I was starting to be like, okay, it'll just be at the very end, and it was. But we actually got Qui-Gon fully in the Jedi robes, and he had the wig back on, and he's like, and I love the way they did it. He's like, took you long enough, and I was like, you know what, that's perfect, because that is exactly like Qui-Gon's kind of like sarcastic-y, almost I don't want to say sassy, but almost sassy kind of attitude that he would have at this moment, where he's like, oh, you're finally able to see me, huh? And which was another interesting like kind of little bit of lore tidbit of like, okay, so you just have to be ready to see the Force spirits. Like, they have been there the whole time, you're just not ready yet, so I thought that was just a really nice moment. He's like, we've got a lot of work to do, and they just walk off, or he kind of disappears, but they walk off into the direction of where Ben Kenobi will eventually build his A New Hope house way out there. and that was just really, really nice. You know, Liam Neeson still really looks like Qui-Gon. I think the wig and everything was fine. It was nice to see him. That was a surprise, you know. Like, I think we all assumed we would at least hear him, but to actually see his ghost in the full Jedi robes, and they actually did the whole thing, that was really, really nice. Also, we do get a Palpatine little tidbit. Now, this was cool. So, basically, we're back at Vader's fortress, and he's sitting there, and he's talking to Palpatine. And at first, he's like, "We're gonna put all our resources to find Kenobi. We have to find Kenobi. You know, I'm not gonna stop until I get my revenge," and all this stuff, right? And Palpatine's like, you know, I'm wondering if your feelings towards your old master are making you weak and they're distracting you. And then Darth Vader immediately changes his tune, and he's like, "Oh, I only serve you. Kenobi means nothing. Kenobi doesn't mean anything anymore." You know, and basically the reason they have to leave off there is because, like, you know, in Rebels, he does kind of like mention, like, you know, if we find this Jedi, maybe we'll find Kenobi, you know, and Obi-Wan's, and then Palpatine's like, "If he still lives," and Vader's like, yeah, if he still lives, you know, and it's basically like this. Vader has like this secret obsession with Obi-Wan when finding him, but Palpatine from this point on is going to be like, "You need to let this go. We have bigger fish to fry," right, as it were, right? We have much bigger things to do. We're an empire, you know, like dark side stuff, you know, we got stuff going on. You putting all this time and resources into finding your old master just to kill him, and then what? Like, he doesn't matter, you know. Like, that's basically Palpatine's thing, is like, he does not matter. He's not going to be able to do anything. You know, he's an old man out there. He might have died by now. Who knows? It doesn't matter. You know, he's like one Jedi. You know, and that's basically Palpatine's thing about Darth Vader's like, you need to be concentrated on serving me and doing what I want you to do. Let go of this whole Kenobi thing. And that's basically where Darth Vader's leaving off at. But of course, Darth Vader's like always gonna kind of secretly obsess about like finding him. And we see that in Rebels, and I think that was really great. So of course, now from this point on, you know, Vader and Obi-Wan do not meet again until A New Hope, at least for now, you know. Hey, if they make season 2 and then they have to do all this over again, you know, where it's like, oh, when I last saw you, you know, 5 years ago, I was the apprentice, you know. I don't think they're gonna do that. I think this is like their definitive stamp of like, you know, he left Vader there, weakened and, you know, guy who can't breathe, you know. So I think they're gonna like leave this, like, this is where they last fought, and then A New Hope happens, you know. I don't think Lucasfilm's gonna come in and be like, but what if they did meet again? You know, I think this is it. So yeah, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I gotta say, I really loved this finale. They, you know, Obi-Wan and Leia got their goodbye moment. We got a Palpatine cameo, a Qui-Gon Jinn cameo. We saw Hayden all messed up in the Darth Vader mask, like all cut up. I think the fight we got was just enough. I don't think the fight needed to last any longer than it did. I honestly don't. Like, you know, I know that's gonna be one sticking point. People are gonna be like, I wanted the fight to last 20-30 minutes in it, and I wanted Duel of the Fates to be playing the entire time, and, you know, that all that stuff, right? And look, that stuff's great. You can make your fan films about that, you know, and it'll look cool, and then, you know, you can have the fight last forever. But like I said with the Transformers thing, it's like, if you're not telling a story anymore and you're just doing action sequence because you want it to last another 20 minutes, it stops meaning something after a while, you know? Like, I feel like it lasted just long enough, and we got those cool moments, we got the badass moments, and we don't need to like drag it out forever, you know? Like, it's like that cross between, you know? Like, and I think that was also their point. The prequel fights and the original trilogy fights are very, very different, and this was like that transition, you know? So like, I think they did a really good job of showing that, of like, they can still do some prequel moves, but also they're getting older, you know what I mean? They're reaching that, they're like at the halfway point of that A New Hope fight, you know what I mean? And you know that A New Hope fight was like kind of just very gentle, like, we're both old, and we're, you know? So like, they got to get to that point, and we're halfway there. and I feel like they did a good job with that. Reva, we're definitely gonna see her again, and like I said, I'm fine with everything that they did there. They didn't, the leaks that everyone was so worried about, they didn't break canon. They didn't like do anything crazy here. And we're gonna see her character again somewhere. It definitely feels like they set her up for a Disney Plus show. My only thing is, like, again, because we know so much now of, like, we know Rebels happens, and then we know obviously the original trilogy happens, so it's like, so what can she actually do at this point? Because we have all these comics and all these books that have now in canon been written around this area, like around the original trilogy and all this stuff. So it's like, if Reva has not shown up in any of that stuff, I am wondering, like, so what do you do with this character? You have a very powerful Force user. What do you do with her? I mean, it's an interesting question to answer, but it does feel like it has certain limitations, unless you want to just be like, well, she's in the background the whole time and she's doing something. I don't know what she's doing, but she's doing something, but who knows? We'll find out. But yeah, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I gotta say, like, overall, I think the show did everything that it promised to do, and I feel like it definitely had, like, its share of surprises, its share of, like, badass moments, and I am wondering if someone wants to edit this whole thing down into, like, a crisp, like, 2 hours 45 minutes kind of thing. I am wondering if that will end up feeling, maybe the pacing will be a little bit better, because I feel like that was really the only weakness of the show, was that because it's releasing week to week and it's episodic, but it also kind of feels like it was supposed to be a movie. Some of the episodes felt definitely a little bit weaker than other episodes because we had to wait a whole week. So maybe just being able to binge it now, maybe the whole thing will feel like one big story chunk that it was supposed to be. Who knows? Overall, I really like this. I enjoyed where this left off, and I don't know, I don't really have any major complaints. You know what I mean? Like, sure, we could all sit here and nitpick, like, they didn't play Duel of the Fates. I don't really care. I don't. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought about Obi-Wan, the finale, and the show as a whole. Let me know your theories about, like, so what's next for Reva? What's happening here? What's going on with there? What was your favorite moment of this episode? Was it seeing Qui-Gon? Because I gotta tell you, seeing Qui-Gon, like, I didn't think that seeing Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon was gonna, like, do much. I thought, like, okay, that's gonna be cool when it happens, but, like, legitimately seeing him, I was like, oh shit, like I actually, like, had, like, this crazy fanboy reaction to seeing him again, so that was actually really awesome. Anyways, yeah, let me know your favorite moments, let me know your theories, let me know what you think is gonna happen. And yeah, that was Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'll see you guys next time. I guess Ms. Marvel's out. Yeah, I'll see you guys on Ms. Marvel. All right, bye.